There's nothing quite like working 70 hours a week for a company your family owns, and still being treated like the guy who just refills the vending machine. I was born into Sawyers & Sons, a family-run industrial fabrication business in Ohio that Grandpa built with nothing but a rusted drill press, 2 missing fingers, and spite. Real blue-collar legacy stuff. The kind of company where vacation meant you only work Saturday until noon. By the time I turned 17, I was welding, sorting deliveries, doing inventory, and fixing the busted forklift. My parents said I had the hands for it, which is family code for we'll overwork you and underpay you forever. Meanwhile, my older brother Ryan, he was allergic to dust. Got nosebleeds when he lifted anything heavier than a stapler. The only tool he ever held with confidence was a golf club, and even that was just for Instagram photos captioned, "Work hard. Play harder." But my parents always said he had the vision. You'll take the business into the next generation. Dad told Ryan, literally during his high school graduation dinner. They said I'd keep it running. He'd keep it growing. At the time, I thought they meant we'd work together. You know, yin and yang. Brains and brawn. A brotherly tag team, built to last. But no. Turns out, they meant he'd sit in the air-conditioned office pretending to answer emails, while I was out back in a welding mask sweating through my second shirt of the day, earning $18 an hour and a lukewarm Gatorade if I was lucky. The real punch in the gut? It wasn't even a surprise meeting or secret inheritance moment. It happened on a random Tuesday. I was reloading a pallet jack, covered in grease, when Dad called us into the office. Said it was time to make things official. Ryan had been back from business school for 2 months, if you count business school as a 2-year program where you post photos of Aperol spritz in Italy and somehow graduate without learning what a profit margin is. We sat across from each other in that cramped office, fluorescent lights flickering like they knew what was coming. And then Dad dropped it. Ryan will be assuming the role of operations lead moving forward. I blinked. You mean, like managing the office side? Dad shook his head. The company. Silence. Then Mom chimed in, sipping her cinnamon tea like this was normal. Don't take it personally, honey. You're amazing with tools. Like truly gifted. But Ryan? He's got that big picture energy. We need that right now. Big picture energy? I repeated. Dad leaned forward. Look, chill. You're just labor. You'll keep doing what you're good at. Just labor. I stared at them. My hands, still stained from the machine oil, curled into fists under the table. That phrase rang in my ears all day. All week. For years I'd put my back, my lungs, and frankly my spine into this place, and they saw me as a walking wrench. When I told my best friend Milo, he said, "Bro, if I were you, I'd ghost them harder than my ex ghosted Rent." Instead, I gave it one last try. I went to Ryan privately. Told him we needed to run decisions together. That the crew wouldn't respect him if he didn't step up and actually learn the operations. He patted me on the back, patted me, like I was a family Labrador, and said, "I'll CC you on stuff, bro, don't stress." 3 weeks later, he forgot to order tungsten rods. Then he cut the supply budget because the numbers looked high. They were high, Ryan, because we were busy. When one of our main welders asked for a day off, Ryan denied it because it didn't align with Q3 velocity. That welder quit. Then another guy. And then another. I was plugging holes in a sinking ship, and my parents acted like I was being too emotional. When I brought up the turnover problem, "You always get in your feelings," Mom said. "We just need harmony right now." Right. Harmony. With a spreadsheet wizard who couldn't tell the difference between a MIG and a TIG weld if it bit him in the overpriced loafers. So one night, after another 14-hour shift and a voicemail from Ryan complaining about how I'd messed up the font on the new logo, I sat down in the break room, pulled out a napkin, and wrote 2 words. "I'm done." Then I went home. Took the next day off. Then the next. No call. No text. And still, nothing. Until day 4. Ryan called, half laughing, half panicking. Yo, you still mad? You good, right? We've got a shipment deadline Friday. I just replied, ask labor, and hung up. For the first 2 days, I didn't do anything dramatic. No big, new chapter speech. No petty Facebook posts. I just slept in. Woke up when the sun was already high. Made a real breakfast, not gas station burritos and vending machine coffee. I didn't even realize how burned out I was until I felt the bliss of not putting on steel-toe boots. But by day 4, when Ryan called, I was already back in work mode, just not for them. I'd gotten 3 calls from former clients, and one from a supplier rep asking if I'd broken off solo. Word travels fast in our industry. Apparently, the moment I disappeared, the whole place felt like a ship without a rudder, or in Ryan's case, a yacht without Wi-Fi. So I did what anyone with tools, talent, and years of unappreciated labor would do. I built a garage in my friend Milo's backyard. Literally. We poured a slab, cleaned out his old workshop, and I converted it into a small fabrication studio. Did it feel petty? Maybe. Did it feel good? Absolutely. Meanwhile, back at Sawyer's & Sons, the cracks became craters. Milo kept me updated. His cousin still worked there and sent live updates like it was a reality show. Ryan tried to run payroll through Excel and crashed the whole system. 2 clients pulled orders. He emailed the wrong specs. HR is just a manila folder now. I didn't smile. Okay, maybe I did. A little. Then came the cherry on top. One of our largest accounts, a specialty metal supplier who had stuck with us through inflation, tariffs, and pandemic shipping hell, called me directly. His name was Dennis. Gruff guy. Always smelled like cigars and coffee. Treated me like a nephew. Eli, he said. What the hell's going on over there? I asked what he meant. They sent over some rookie to negotiate pricing. Kid had no clue what anodized aluminum even was. Ryan? I asked. Is that his name? Dennis grunted. Sounded like a guy who learned business from YouTube. I stayed quiet. Dennis sighed. Look, I like you. I liked your old man too, before he lost his damn mind. If you ever go independent, call me first. I just said, noted. 2 weeks after I walked, the shop was down 4 welders, a floor supervisor, and at least 2 loyal clients. But the real blow came the next Monday. Ryan called again, this time not as cocky. Hey bro, he said, forcing a laugh. You got a minute? Nope. He chuckled awkwardly. Cool. Just quick thing. You wouldn't happen to know where we stored the 2019 Supplier records, would you? Kinda need those ASAP. Also, random, but do you remember the tolerance specs for the Parker order? I was quiet. Bro? I think you need labor for that, I said. Click. The best part? He didn't even call back. No apology. No offer. Just silence. But then, they sent Mom. She showed up at Milo's garage with a tray of lasagna and her classic, "Oh, honey," voice, the one she used after yelling at us for something and realizing she needed a ride to Kohl's. "Oh, Eli," she said, stepping around a socket set. "You always loved working with your hands." I didn't even lift my head. "Is this a peace offering or a bribe?" I asked. She smiled tightly. "I just miss my boys getting along. You were always so close." I actually laughed. Mom. He once told me I was the human equivalent of a socket wrench. We were never close. She tried again. Your father didn't mean it, you know. The just labor thing. Sure he did, I said, finally looking at her. And he was right. I was labor. But I'm not anymore. She looked around the space. Saw the tools. The in-progress project orders. The call sheet tacked on the wall. She realized this wasn't a tantrum. It was a launch pad. "Eli," she said, voice dropping. "Don't throw away family over a title." I crossed my arms. "I didn't throw anything away," I said. "You all handed me the scraps. I just learned how to weld them into something better." She didn't say much after that. Took her lasagna and left. I checked the foil tray. It was store-bought. Figures. 3 days after Mom's lasagna diplomacy failed, I got a text from an unknown number. Hey Eli. This is Frank. Dennis gave me your number. You doing independent work now? Frank ran a regional materials outfit that supplied about 70% of the industrial shops in the tri-state area. The fact that he was texting me meant one thing. Ryan had finally messed up something critical. I texted back. Yep. Small jobs. Private clients. For now. He called me 10 seconds later. Not to sound desperate, but if you've got bandwidth, I've got a client crying over a busted batch of custom-cut sheets. Apparently, Sawyer and Sons sent the wrong gauge. Again. I almost choked. Again? Oh yeah, he said. Second time in 3 weeks. They blamed the supplier last time. Today they tried blaming the client. I raised an eyebrow. Which client? He hesitated. Midwest Transit. I blinked. That was our biggest account. Correction, my biggest account. I'd maintained that relationship for 6 years. Recalibrated specs when their buses changed models. Personally delivered emergency orders in snowstorms. Brought donuts to their warehouse once a month because Larry in receiving had a weakness for bear claws. And Ryan just lost them? Frank kept talking. They've already pulled their next 3 orders. Said they're not interested in excuses anymore. Then he paused. But they did say they'd still be open to working with you, if you were operating independently. That's when it clicked. I wasn't just out. I was free. Ryan hadn't just fumbled a few invoices, he fumbled our top-tier clients. The people who kept the doors open and the machines buzzing. I told Frank I'd follow up in 24 hours. Then I hung up and sat in stunned silence. Milo found me like that, just staring at the floor like it had answers. Bro, he said. Did your brain crash? They lost Midwest Transit. I whispered. He dropped his sandwich. Dude. That night, I opened a new business checking account, ordered business cards, and registered. Redline Fabrication LLC. It was a name I'd been saving in my notes app for 3 years. Just in case. Apparently. Just in case. Had arrived. Meanwhile, back at Sawyer's and Sons, panic was officially a department. A guy I used to supervise, Jeff, big guy, beard like a Viking, sent me a photo of the office whiteboard. It was filled with frantic notes like, find new supplier, ASAP. Revise SOP? Who is Larry and why won't he return my calls? Then Jeff texted. He actually asked what a bearing flange is today. I quit Friday. I didn't blame him. Friday came, and with it another call, this time from my dad. No, hello? No, how are you, son? Just straight to the point. Eli, we're in a tight spot. I said nothing. He sighed. Midwest Transit said they'd reconsider, if you handled the next batch personally. Still, I stayed silent. Look, I know you're upset. But we need to focus on solutions. That word again. We. I leaned back in my chair. Solutions. I repeated. Right. Well, my solution was leaving. Yours was promoting a guy who thinks tolerance specs are a political opinion. Don't be childish. He snapped. There it was. The real him. You made your point. Now it's time to be the bigger man. Ah, yes. The family classic. I'm supposed to eat dirt and smile. I took a breath. I'll think about it. I said. If I do step in, it'll be under my terms. Silence. Then he grunted something and hung up. An hour later, I got a group email from the Sawyers and Sons account titled, Urgent Midwest Transit Order Revival, Eli as led? Guess who was CC'd? Every employee. Including Ryan. Guess who replied all? Ryan. And his message? Wait. Is this a joke? We're crawling back to just labor now. No one replied. Not a single person. And in that quiet digital silence, I realized something. They could put Operations Manager next to Ryan's name all day long. But respect? Trust? Actual capability? That had always been mine. The moment I saw Ryan's, just labor, email, I knew exactly how this was going to play out. He wasn't mad about me coming back. He was mad about not being able to stop it. For the first time in his life, he didn't hold the upper hand. No flashy title or office door could fix a collapsing business when the only guy who knew how it all worked was already halfway through building his own. I didn't reply to the email. I let it stew. I wanted them to feel the silence. Let them marinate in the awkward CC thread they created. The kind of corporate cringe that makes people hover over the unsend button like it's a detonator. The next morning, I sent a reply, not to the group, but just to Dad. Subject: Midwest Transit. Proposal. Hi. If Sawyers and Sons wants me to handle the order, I'll need full control over materials, sourcing, and scheduling. All under my business, Redline Fabrication LLC. I'll act as a third-party contractor. Not an employee. Terms attached. Rates non-negotiable. Eli. I attached the invoice with one subtle detail at the top. Client, Sawyers and Sons Fabrication, subcontract request. A few hours later, I got a response. Not from Dad. Not from Ryan. But from the company's accountant, Cheryl, bless her, who just wrote. Understood. Processing now. I grinned. I didn't just get back in, I came in above them. As I pulled up to the Midwest Transit facility that week, the lead coordinator Larry was already waiting out front. He grinned when he saw me. Bear claws in the break room, just for you. I laughed. You remembered? Of course. You kept our fleet on schedule during the salt shortage of 21. I'd have named a bus after you if I could have. We walked the floor, reviewed the new build specs, and confirmed a timeline. Everything felt right again. Like I was home, just not their home. Meanwhile, I could tell Sawyers and Sons was in PR panic mode. I got a LinkedIn request from Ryan titled, Open to Collaborating. I left it pending. Milo and I had been scaling the garage slowly. A few local projects, some smaller machine shop contracts. But after this Midwest Transit order, we had real revenue, real visibility, and one priceless thing. Leverage. 2 days before delivery, I got another call. Dad. Again. But this time, softer. Eli. He said. I read the invoice. Good. I replied. You didn't go easy on us. No. I said. You didn't go easy on me either. He cleared his throat. You've built something good here. Now that caught me off guard. A compliment from Dad was rarer than a quiet holiday dinner in our house. Thanks. He paused again. Any chance you'd want to rejoin the company? Maybe bring some of your systems back in. Restructure? I waited a beat. Then I said, You mean fix everything Ryan broke while you watched? He didn't respond. I'm not coming back. I continued. But I'll take your orders, as a contractor. He grunted. Even after everything, you're still willing to work with us? No, I said. I'm willing to bill you. He went quiet. And I swear, somewhere in the background, I could hear Ryan shouting about something. Probably a printer jam or a missing spreadsheet. Music to my ears. After I hung up, I updated the job board in our little garage. New logo at the top. New contracts coming in. New stickers on the equipment. And taped right underneath my monitor? That old quote from Dad, scribbled on a napkin in my handwriting. You're just labor. I kept it there as a reminder. Not of pain, but of fuel. Sometimes, the best way to thank someone for lighting a fire under you is to build your own damn forge. Redline Fabrication was never meant to compete. It started with a single workbench, a loner MIG welder, and 2 guys running night shifts off black coffee and Taco Bell. Milo handled the scheduling and invoicing. I handled the builds, the grind, and the clients who remembered when I was the only reason Sawyers and Sons ever delivered anything on time. But after Midwest Transit? It wasn't a garage anymore. It was a machine. We had parts coming in weekly, and Milo's cousin Cam, an actual was with Digital CAD, joined full-time. He added 3D modeling to our service list, and suddenly we were offering stuff Sawyers had never even heard of. And just like that, Redline started pulling the clients they used to call untouchable. Of course, it didn't take long for Ryan to notice. First, I heard from Jeff, the bearded Viking, that Ryan was running around the office saying, "We need to digitize our offerings. Redline's doing something weird with modeling. I think it's AI or something." He meant CAD. Like, the software every trade school teaches. Then, a week later, one of my clients forwarded me an email from Sawyers. "Hello, we're excited to offer premium express packages for your fabrication needs, with advanced prototype rendering and custom consultation." I laughed out loud. They just stapled buzzwords together like a toddler with a thesaurus. And that premium express package. It was just a regular quote with a 15% markup and the word fast underlined 3 times. Real cutting-edge innovation. The best part? They copied Redline's invoice template. No, seriously. Same font. Same layout. Same footer. But they forgot to delete one thing, a line that still read, Redline Client Portal Login. It was like watching someone steal your outfit and accidentally leave your name tag on it. I didn't respond. I didn't even react publicly. I just kept working, and quietly started building Redline's first satellite team. We found a commercial lot outside Dayton. A former detailing shop with perfect ventilation and a solid loading dock. We signed the lease in cash. 3 days later, I got a call from Larry at Midwest Transit again. "Eli," he said. "You got a moment?" "Always." "You ever heard of the statewide expo? Industrial Supplier Showcase down in Cincy?" "Sure," I said. "We used to go every year." "Well, Sawyers just dropped out. Said they were cutting costs." "Oh?" He chuckled. "And get this, they suggested we check out Redline's booth instead. Claimed you were offering something newer." I nearly dropped the phone. "They're referring us to you now? I guess they finally figured out which son actually does the work." By the time the expo rolled around, Redline had a custom booth with a CNC demo monitor, real-time part rendering, and Milo standing behind a slick display like a guy who belonged on a startup pitch show. We didn't even have to pitch. People found us. Suppliers. Transportation managers. Municipal planners. Guys who hadn't returned my calls 2 years ago were now saying things like, "Didn't you used to work at, what was it? Saw something? Saw something." I could have cried. At the end of the day, we'd booked 4 new projects and had 12 leads in the pipeline. Milo pulled me aside in the parking lot and said, "Bro, we're not a garage anymore." He was right. And Sawyers and Sons? They were nowhere in sight. Not even a pamphlet on the floor. That night I got a call from Mom again. She left a voicemail, her voice tired, almost pleading. "Your father's not doing well. Ryan's overwhelmed. Things aren't as simple as they used to be. Maybe you could stop by. Talk things through?" I played it twice. And then I hit delete. I wasn't cruel. I wasn't cold. I just wasn't theirs anymore. They'd spent years telling me I was just labor. Now they were learning what happens when labor leaves, and takes the backbone with it. 2 weeks after the expo, I thought things might finally settle. Redline was booked through next quarter. We had clients waiting in line, new machinery on the way, and Milo was talking about hiring a full-time dispatcher. Everything was finally quiet. Until I got a text from Jeff. "Yo. You need to see this." Attached was a PDF. A Redline fabrication proposal, with Ryan's name on it. Only it wasn't our proposal. It was a copy, word for word. Except for the logo, which had been swapped for Sawyers and Sons Black Line Division. Black Line? Are you kidding me? I scrolled through the pages. It wasn't even subtle. It was our rate sheet. Our scope of work. Even our late fee policy. The guy had just rebranded our model, slapped a darker color scheme on the header, and started emailing it to municipalities like he came up with it. But he made one mistake. He sent it to Crawford County. And guess who was already in a signed contract with Crawford County? Yours truly. The county's procurement office forwarded it straight to us, subject line. Duplicate vendor? Just checking. Just checking. Milo stared at the email and said, Bro. Is this illegal? Barely, I said. But it's definitely dumb. Ryan hadn't just mimicked the business, he tried to backdoor my clients using my own contracts. It would have been laughable if it wasn't so pathetic. But what really flipped the switch was what he did next. He showed up at the Dayton shop. Uninvited. Middle of the day, while I was walking a client through an equipment calibration, Ryan just walked into the garage in loafers and a tight button-up like he was doing a TikTok tour. Yo, he called out. Big bro. This your setup? The client looked confused. I nodded once. Be right back. I walked over. Get out. He laughed, arms wide like we were in a Hallmark movie. Hey, chill. I just wanted to see what the fuss was about. Everyone's been talking about Redline. Figured I'd see it up close. I kept my arms folded. You've seen enough. Leave. He took a slow look around. Nice gear. Bet this place runs hot, huh? AC would be a good upgrade. Ryan. He held up both hands. Okay. Look, man, Dad's losing it. The books are a mess. We've got 2 lawsuits pending and a review audit next month. Mom's talking about selling equipment just to make payroll. Not my problem. Then he got real close and dropped his voice. I can make you an offer. I almost laughed. You want to hire me now? No, he said. I want to merge. I blinked. You want to merge Redline with Sawyer's? He nodded, like he was pitching a billion-dollar deal. Yeah. We absorb your contracts, consolidate resources. Family legacy intact. It was so dumb I almost admired the confidence. I stepped back. Shook my head. Ryan. You put my name on a fake proposal. He waved it off. Details? We're brothers. Exactly. I said. Which is why I know you'll never change. You're not looking for a partner, you're looking for a parachute. He stiffened. This isn't going to be a forever win streak, man. You're going to need help eventually. No, I said calmly. You need help. I just need to keep showing up. Then I turned and walked back to my client without another word. Ryan stood there for another minute before walking out. I heard his car door slam. He peeled off like a teenager denied prom. 2 days later, I got a legal notice. Cease and desist. Claiming Redline had stolen intellectual property from Blackline, their innovative fabrication division. I stared at it for a full minute before bursting into laughter. Milo looked over. What now? I tossed him the paper. He read it. Then blinked. Wait. They're suing us? I nodded. For stealing our own work? I nodded again. Then he asked the best question of the day. You want to make this public? And I smiled. Oh, yes. I did. I didn't reply to the cease and desist. Not directly. Instead, I made a call to a guy named Rich. Rich had been in the industry longer than I'd been alive. A real old-school supplier rep who wore BLO ties unironically and kept every contract printed and filed like it was 1993. He also happened to be best friends with the procurement officer for Crawford County, the very client Ryan had tried to poach with my own proposal. When I told Rich what was going on, he let out a long, wheezy laugh and said, So, he knocked off your design and then tried to sue you for it. I said, Yep. He said, Give me 24 hours. I got you. The next day, the county emailed me asking permission to make Redline's original proposal public, as a case study in vendor ethics at the upcoming statewide Supplier Summit. I gave them full clearance. And just like that, what Ryan meant as a legal threat turned into free marketing for me, and a public exhibit of their failure. But it gets better. At the summit, they hosted a panel called Integrity in Contracting, When Innovation Gets Imitated. Guess whose proposal was on the screen? Redline's. Guess whose Blackline knockoff got dissected line by a procurement ethics consultant? Sawyer's and Sons. Guess who was in the audience? My mom. She hadn't seen me yet. I was seated in the back, sipping terrible hotel coffee, watching as a slide popped up titled, "Do not do this, the Black Line Copycat Proposal." It was the exact document Ryan had sent out. The footer still had remnants of my portal info embedded in the metadata. The consultant even zoomed in to show it, like it was a true crime breakdown. People gasped. One guy muttered, "That's bold. And stupid." And then, they opened the floor to questions. A woman near the front raised her hand and asked, "What would have been the right thing for a company like that to do if their former employee became a competitor?" The consultant said, "They should have paid him what he was worth in the first place." I nearly stood up and clapped. Afterward, as everyone shuffled out, Mom spotted me. She looked older than I remembered. Smaller somehow. Like the years had caught up all at once. She walked over slowly, clutching her purse like it was a life vest. "Eli," she said, "I didn't know you were going to be here." I shrugged. "Didn't plan to. Just wanted to watch the show." She winced. "You humiliated your brother." I raised an eyebrow. "I did. You could have stopped that panel. You could have declined." "No," I said calmly. "Ryan humiliated himself. I just didn't cover for him this time." She opened her mouth. Closed it. Then tried again. "Your father's sick. Stress. Blood pressure. He's barely sleeping." That one almost got me. Almost. But then I remembered the meetings I was never invited to. The promotions I was passed over for. The years I spent working my hands raw while Ryan played CEO in designer loafers. So I just said, "I hope he gets better." She blinked. "That's it." "That's more than I got when I left," I said. No one checked on me then. A pause. "I made lasagna," she said weakly. I smiled, just a little. "And I made a company," I said. "I think we're even." Then I turned and walked toward the next presentation, where they were hosting a breakout session for emerging vendors. As I took my seat, I saw something that made everything feel complete. A name badge next to mine that read, "Redline Fabrication, featured guest vendor." No footnotes. No asterisks. No son of attached. Just me. Just earned. A week after the summit, I got a letter in the mail. Not an email. Not a text. A real letter. Like it was 1985 again. It was from my dad. The handwriting was stiff. Careful. He'd clearly taken his time, or maybe rewritten it a few times. It said, "You were right. I should have listened. We built something, but you kept it alive. Ryan isn't ready. I don't expect forgiveness. But if there's ever a way forward, I'd like to earn it." No signature. No return address. Just a quiet surrender. And for the first time in years, I didn't feel angry. I didn't feel small. I didn't feel like just labor. I folded the letter and tucked it in my drawer, next to the first Redline business card I ever printed. That weekend, we held our own open house. No flashy suits. No fake smiles. Just real clients, real work, and a long table full of Milo's mom's brownies. Halfway through the day, I noticed something strange. A car parked across the street. Familiar. Inside it? Ryan. He never got out. Just sat there. Watched. Like someone staring at the life they could have had, if they just respected the hands that built it. And I went back inside. Because the thing about being called just labor? Is that labor builds empires. And I wasn't done building yet.